Hello guys, welcome to another video here on Burp Suite other models, and this is under the Web Fundamentals learning part a series that I'm studying, and we're currently on the Burp Suite model. We've done the basics, repeater, we've done intruder, and we're currently on other models. Okay, we'll take a dive into some of the Burp Suite's lesser known models, and tax 1. Welcome to the Burp Suite Other Models room. In addition to the widely recognized repeater and intruder rooms, Burp Suite incorporates several lesser known models. This will form the focus of this room's exploration. The spotlight will be on the decoder, comparer, sequencer, and organizer tools. They facilitate operations with encoded texts, enable comparison of data sets, allow the analysis of randomness within captured tokens, and help you store and annotate copies of HTTP messages that you may want to revisit later. Although these tasks appear straightforward, accomplishing them within Burp Suite can substantially save time, thus emphasizing the importance of learning to use these models effectively. Now, without further ado, let's dive into the first two, the decoder. First, let's answer the question below. Deploy the machine attached to the task by pressing the green start button right here, as well as the attack box. We won't be using the attack box in this room. I'm going to be using my Kali Linux machine, recently used Burp Suite. So I'm going to open that and put it side by side with this room so we can here we go. So we have that on the left side. Let's have on the right side, so let's have this on the left side. So with that being set, right now we'll hit complete, and there we go. Let's head on to task 2. Now the decoder module of Burp Suite gives user data manipulation capabilities. As implied by its name, it not only decodes data intercepted during an attack, but also provides the function to encode our own data, prepping it for transmission to the target. Now, decoder also allows us to create hash sums of data, as well as providing a smart decode feature, which attempts to decode provided data recursively until it is back to being plain text, like the magic function of Cyberchef. Okay, now to access the decoder, navigate to the decoder tab from the top menu to view the available options. And over here we have the target, proxy, and all that, so we're heading straight to the decoder, and here we have the decoder. Alright, now this interface lays out a multitude of options. The first is the box. This box serves as the workplace or the workspace for entering or pasting data that requires encoding or decoding. Consistent with other models of Burp Suite, data can be moved into this area from different parts of the framework via the send to decoder option upon right clicking. Now let's do a quick thing right now. We'll go back to we'll go back to proxy, and I'm going to open the browser here. Alright, it's been opening all along, so we have that here. And if I minimize this for a second and turn on my intercept, go back to the Chromium browser, type in something like Tryhackme, tryhackme.com, hit enter, and it's captured. We have that intercepted here on the proxy, so we can right click and actually send to decoder here. So if we go back to our decoder, you can see that we do have whatever we captured sent to the decoder. So basically what this means here. Okay, and clear that out. At the top of the list on the right, there is an option to treat the input as either text or hexadecimal bytes, so we can have that as either a text or hex. So if you type in HHAGGG, it can be on text, or we can convert that to hexadecimal option. Now, as we move down the list, drop down menus are present to encode, decode, or hash the input. As you can see, decode as, encode as, and to hash as any of these options we see here. And lastly here, the smart decode feature located at the end attempts to auto decode the input. Smart decode right here, smart decode. So basically that ends us with the interface here. Now upon entering data into the input field, the interface replicates itself to present the output of our operations. We can, which we saw earlier. Immediately I pasted something here, put this back on text, and once you start typing something here, it starts to replicate it here. So once I start inputting something, it replicates more like the results on the bottom. Okay, now we can choose to apply further transformations using the same options, and more like any other options we see here. Now let's answer the question below. Which feature attempts auto decode of the input? So it should be the smart decode. So once we have the smart decode on, it will decode it you know, by automatically decoding it. So it's called smart decode. Hit enter, and that's correct. Let's head on to task 3. Over here on task 3, it's called decoder, encoding, and decoding. Now let's examine the manual encoding and decoding options in details. These are identical whether the decoding or encoding menu is chosen. So it's basically whatever you see here on the decoding options is same or identical to the encode, as they are the same options here. Now plain, what does plain mean? Plain, this refers to the raw text before any transformations are applied, just like we see here. This is plain right here now. Okay, so if you start to apply any different options, you start getting the colors encoded. If you put it back as plain, it will give you back the plain text. URL encoding is utilized to ensure the safe transfer of data in the URL of a web request. It involves substituting characters for their ASCII character code in hexadecimal format and preceded by the percentage sign. So this method is vital for any type of web application testing. For instance, if we are going to encode the forward slash character, if we're going to encode this right now, it's going to be basically the ASCII character code, which is 47, converts it to hexadecimal to give you 2F. Now thus when we convert this basically to URL, it will just append the percentage sign in the beginning of it. So let's basically encode this in URL, and you can see 2F. So basically that's it. You get that percentage sign and then 2F. Okay, the decoder can be used to verify this by typing a / in the input box, which we've done, then selecting encode as URL, and there we go. Alright, now HTML entities encoding replaces special characters with an ampersand, the ampersand, or what I usually call the and button, followed by either a hexadecimal number or a reference to the character being escaped, and encoded with a semicolon. Now this method ensures the safe rendering of special characters in HTML and helps prevent attacks such as XSS. Now the HTML option in decoder allows any character to be encoded into its HTML escaped format or decode captured HTML entities. For instance, to decode a previously discussed quotation mark, imputes the encode version and choose decode as HTML. So we can do this by using the ampersand, and then we're going to use quote, and we're going to use put that as a semicolon. Now we want to encode semicolon. We want to encode this as HTML. Sorry, I'm going to decode this as HTML, and there we go. We see this as a double quotation mark, right? So basically that's how the HTML part works. Okay, now base 64, a commonly used encoding method, converts any data into an ASCII compatible format. The under the hood functioning isn't crucial at this stage. However, interested individuals can find the underlying mathematics here. So you can check out the encoding and decoding base 64 options here. You can read more about that here on this particular stackabuse.com page. Now, ASCII hex. The option transitions data between ASCII and hexadecimal representation. For instance, the word ASCII, if imputed here, should give you ASCII can be converted into hexadecimal number. If I say decode this as hex, ASCII hex, no, encode this as ASCII hex. Yes, once we encode this as an ASCII hex, we just get to see the A, which is 41, and S, which is 53, and so on and so forth. So each character is converted from its numeric ASCII representation into a hexadecimal. So that's basically ASCII hex. Hex, octal, and binary, which are the other options. These encoding methods apply solely to numeric inputs, converting between decimal, hexadecimal, octal base 8, and binary representation. Just like the answer we have here, we could actually encode this as octal, and we have the octal representation. We can encode this more again to binary, and you get these options, and so on and so forth. So gzip. Gzip compresses data, reducing the file and page size before browser transmission. This is very important in terms of large page size. So faster load times are highly desirable for developers looking to enhance their SEO score and avoid user inconvenience. So Decoder facilitates the manual encoding and decoding of gzip data, although it often isn't valid ASCII Unicode. For instance, if we try to how do I get rid of all this? So yeah, so basically if we can try to type in testing zip right here, testing gzip, and we want to that should be to encode this as gzip. So as you can see, basically you see it's not a valid ASCII or Unicode, as you can see. Now this method can be stacked. For example, a phrase Burp Suite decoder could be converted to ASCII hex and then to octal. So we can double convert all these things. So basically we can do this. Let's type that in. We have Burp Suite decoder. Alright, so we can convert this to ASCII, encode this to ASCII. Alright, then we can further convert this ASCII hex and then convert that to octal, encode this back to octal, as you can see right here. So we can lay it upon this, put more layers of it. I can still encode this option here to binary. See? So we can do more loads on or stack these particular methods on each other. Now in combination, these methods grant us substantial control over the data we are encoding or decoding. So each encoding and decoding method is color coded, enabling swift identification of applied transformation. Right now, hex format. Now while imputing data in ASCII format is beneficial, there are times when byte by byte information editing is necessary. This is where hex view comes in, and it proves useful. Select above decoding options and you just select hex. Now this feature enables us to view and alter our data in hexadecimal byte format, a vital tool when working with binary files or other non-ASCII data. And lastly, smart decode. Lastly, we have the smart decode option. This feature tries to auto decode encoded text. For instance, if we have this right here, copy that easily and paste that here and just hit smart decode, you just get Burp Suite. Okay, it's automatically recognized as HTML encoded and is accordingly decoded to Burp Suite once you hit smart decode. Alright, while not perfect, this feature can be a quick solution for decoding unknown data chunks. I actually concur. Now answer the question below. Base 64 encode the phrase let's start simple. Let's quickly just copy that. Let's start simple. Okay, let's start simple copied. Come over here, Ctrl V, paste, and we want to encode this in base 64. So encode, and let's hit base 64. Where's base 64? Right here. So we have this here. So let's copy the answer and see if that gives us the answer. Submit, and voila. We're going to URL decode this data. So URL decode, you can see it starts with an percentage sign. Okay, Ctrl V right there. So I'm going to decode this as a URL, and we'll have next decoding as the result. So Ctrl C, Ctrl V, submit. Correct. Use smart decode to decode this data. So I'm going to Ctrl C this data here. It starts with an ampersand, so that should be Ctrl V, and I want to decode, smart decode this. And if we smart decode it, did double decoding, first converted it to URL, and I think this is from HTML to URL, and then basically this might be hex or hexadecimal, I believe. Submit, and that's correct. Okay, encode the phrase encoding challenge. So I'm going to encode this in base 64. We're going to take the output and convert it to ASCII hex, then finally encode the hex string into octal. Okay, so we're stacking. So Ctrl F, Ctrl V. We have encoding challenge, so I want to encode this right now as ASCII hex. We've done that, and further we're going to convert the ASCII hex and encode that to octal, and this should be our answer. Ctrl C, Ctrl V. This is our final string, and no, we didn't get that. So what did we do wrong? So first we have encoding challenge, and start with base 64 encoding. So I'm going to start here and encode this as base 64, then encode this as ASCII hex, encode this as octal. So I guess I missed out on the first stack. Hit submit, and voila, there we go, correct. Let's head into task 4. Okay, task 4, hash, decoder hashing. All right, now hash is, in addition to its encoding or decoding functionality, Decoder also offers the ability to generate hash sums for our data. And the theory behind this is that hashing is a one-way process that transforms data into a unique signature. For a function to qualify as a hashing algorithm, the output it generates must be irreversible. Now, a proficient hashing algorithm ensures that every data input will generate a completely unique hash. For instance, using the MD5 algorithm to produce a hash sum for the text MD5 sum returns this particular string. Now, using the same algorithm for MD5 sum all in caps yields an entirely different hash despite the close resemblance of the input. So it's totally different. Therefore, hashes are commonly used to verify the integrity of files and documents, as even a tiny alteration to these files significantly changes the hash sum. Now note that the MD5 algorithm is depreciated and should not be used for contemporary applications. Moreover, hashes are used to securely store passwords, since the one-way hashing process makes the password relatively secured. Now, even if the database is compromised, basically, so when a user creates a password, the application hashes and stores it. During login, the application hashes the submitted password and compares it again to the stored hash. If they match, the password is correct using this method. Using this method, an application never needs to store the original plaintext password. Now, hashing in Decoder. Now, Decoder allows us to create hash sums for data directly within Burp Suite. It operates similarly to the encoding and decoding options we discussed earlier. Specifically, we click on the hash drop-down menu and select an algorithm from the list. So basically, under the hash, we can see different algorithms or hash sum types. Now, note that this list is significantly longer than the encoding and decoding algorithm. It's worth scrolling through to see the many available hashing algorithms like we just saw. Continuing with our earlier example, let's enter MD5 sum. If we copy this MD5 sum here, Ctrl V, and then if we input this into the box, then we're going to scroll down in the list of the hash and we're going to find MD5. We have MD5 right here. Click on MD5. Yeah, it's automatically converting into hex. Okay. Now, a hashing algorithm output does not yield pure ASCII Unicode tests. Hence, it is customary to convert the algorithm output into a hexadecimal string. This is the hash form you might be familiar with. So let's see if we can encode this back to ASCII hex. Yes, this is exactly the one I'm used to. Okay. Now, so let's complete this by applying ASCII hex, which we've done. I encoded the hash sum to create a neat hex string from our initial example. Alright, there we go. So here's the full process like we did right here. So now, using the decoder, what's the SHA-256 hash sum of the phrase let's get hashing? So we're going to figure that out right now. So I'm going to copy this. Alright, and we're going to convert this into the ASCII hex string for the answer to the question. So come over here, Ctrl V. Let's get hashing, and I want to hash this in SHA-256, and let's look for SHA-256 sh SHA-256. Okay, right here. So we have that, and we're going to encode this as ASCII hex. So we have this long string here, so this should be our hash. I'm going to paste that right here, hit submit, and we're correct. Now we're going to generate an MD4 hash sum for the phrase insecure algorithm. Insecure algorithms, Ctrl A V, insecure algorithm. We're looking for hash MD4, not MD5, MD4, right? We're going to encode this. This one time we're encoding this as base 64, not ASCII, before submitting. So we're going to encode this as base 64, and here we go. Paste that right here, hit submit, and voila. Let's look at an in context example. First, download the file attached to these tags. We have that up here. We can either download it manually, or we can use our Linux terminal to do that using the code wget. So this file can also be downloaded from the deployed VM with wget, and this you may find this helpful if you're using the attack box. So I'm going to just use I'm going to try to type in that as well. So either you can either copy it, or let's just wget, and that should be HTTP, and this is the IP and port number, and what we're downloading is the altered keys.zip. So basically didn't do that complete, but this makes me jog my memory a little bit. So let's hit enter, and it's downloading. Great. So let's ls. As you can see, we have that. I can just use a quick unzip command here on that altered, complete that, hit enter, and I think it's already unzipped. So if I click ls, we have keys. I can seed into keys, I guess, and hit ls. And so right there we have our key 1, key 2, key 3, key 4 right here. Okay, we have all the keys right here. Perfect. So we can actually cut one just to give you an example. Cut, we have key, we enter one, hit enter, and as you can see the hash right here for key 1. All right, let's continue. Now read the problem specification below. Now some joker has messed with my SSH key. There are 4 keys in the directory and I have no idea which is the real one. The MD5 hash sum for my key is this, right? Could you find it for me? What is the correct key name? So basically what they want us to do here is to copy every hash we've done. So for instance, this one here, oh my god, that's not it. Copying this particular hash, copy everything, and we're going to type that control, copy that selection. They want us to come back to our decoder here, and we want to decode this. We want to hash it, we want to hash that in MD5. So hash this or unhash this in MD5. So once it's hashed in MD5, we're gonna decode that as ASCII hash. We're gonna encode that as ASCII hash. So when we encode that, you can see this particular hash sum is not the same as this. We can continue to do that for all the rest of the keys that we have here. We can either continue that or we could use a shorter formula, which is since we are in the keys folder right now, there's a quick trick here on Kali Linux where you can do MD5 sum, I believe, and you can do MD5 for key 1 and it will just give you the answer. But we can do for all at the same time, which is MD5 sum, and just put an asterisk, which means basically for all the keys in that particular keys folder. Hit enter, and as you can see, it has all the hash sum for the key 1 to key 4. And if we go back to what we have here, we're looking for the one that starts with 3166 and with F8. Which one starts with 3166 and with F8? And that's key 3. So we'll come back here and we can see the correct key is key 3, and that gives us the answer. So we learned a cool trick today using what we call the MD5 sum, and then we can hash that basically. So we're done with task 4. Let's head on to task 5. Comparer overview. So we're basically done with the decoder, so let's head on to comparer. Hit comparer, and here we are. Comparer, as the name implies, lets us compare 2 pieces of data either by ASCII words or by bytes. Okay, now let's first check out the interface. So we have the interface, you can look over here, it's better here. So basically the interface can be divided into 3 main parts. On the left, we see the item to be compared right here. Now we load that data into comparer. It appears as rows in these tables. We select 2 data sets to compare, but either the first data here, the second data here as well. Now on the upper right, we can have options for pasting data from the clipboard. So we can, once you've copied, you can just come here and paste. Load, remove, clear, as you can see there. Loading the data from the file, from a file which is load, removing the current row, which is to remove, and clearing all data sets by clicking on clear. Lastly, we do have on the lower right side, we can choose to compare our data set by either words or bytes. So basically here, so if I have let's say I paste something here, and basically what am I comparing it with? Paste to, and you can either load, remove, clear, and then you can compare it in words, just like we can see here. I'm going to close this, or you can compare that in bytes. Okay, so more or less. Now, just like most Burp Suite modules, we can also load data into comparer from other modules by right clicking and choosing to send to comparer. Just like if I come to proxy, I select this, I can send this to comparer, and when I come back to my comparer right here, we can see we have that here. So I might just want to clear this first. Let me clear, remove, remove. Let me remove everything. So I go back to proxy, right click, I can send that to comparer, come back to comparer here, we can have that right here. So basically, now just once we've added at least two data sets to compare and press on either words or bytes, a pop-up window shows us the comparison. Alright, could test for other things here. Let's just remove. And the window also has three distinct sections. The compared data occupies most of the window. It can be viewed in either, let's just do a quick thing here. What am I going to copy? Let's just copy this. I'll copy that and come back here, and I'm going to paste that. And next I'm going to go copy the second one, copy, and I'm going to paste that as well. So we'll have to compare in words. As you can see, it's basically two different things, key 1 and key 2. So what was it saying? It says the compared data occupies most of the windows. It can be viewed in either text or hex format. Now the entire format depends on whether we choose to compare by words or bytes in the previous window. But this can be overridden by using the buttons above the comparison boxes. Okay. Now the comparison keys at the bottom left shows which color represent modified, deleted, and added data between the two data sets. Now the sync views checkbox is at the bottom right of the window, which is let's just do that here, so you can see the sync views here. We have the modified, deleted, added, and the whole of this is all modified. It just shows the whole keys are different. If there was a deleted one between the first and the second one, we should be able to see that as well. So now the sync views checkbox is at the bottom right of the window. When selected, it ensures that both sets of data will sync formats. In other words, if you change one of them into hex views, the other will adjust to match. So that's basically what happens there. Now the window title displays the total number of differences found. I didn't give a better example in that case, but that's basically how to use that. Click me to proceed to the next task. We're done. I'm going to do an example so it might be clearer here right now. So we now know that what comparer does, but how is this useful? Now there are many situations where being able to quickly compare two potentially very large pieces of data can come in handy. For example, when performing a login brute force or credential stuffing attack with intruder, you may wish to compare two responses with different lengths to see where the difference lie and whether the difference indicates a successful login or not. So let's do a practical example. I'm going to navigate to this particular URL, which is the IP at support.login. We're going to try to log in with an invalid username and password, capture the request in the Burp proxy, and we're going to send that to repeater right away. Let's quickly go back to my proxy. My intercept is on. Then let's go back to my Chromium browser. First, let me delete some of this comparer. Delete. Come back here. Comparer. Delete. Alright, let's come back to my Chromium browser. I'm going to copy this and paste this here. I'm going to hit enter. That should have captured it, but because that should have captured it because I did not forward. I forward everything. So forward, everything is forwarded. Let's go back to my Chromium browser right here, and I'm gonna resend this. Hit enter, and here we've captured that. I'm just gonna Control R. It's been sent to repeater. Go back to repeater. This is what we have. That we have that on repeater right now. Okay, it's Control R. Now we're gonna send them. Okay, I didn't do something right. So I'm going to redo this. I'm actually supposed to log in with a username and password to make it genuine. So I'll go back to my proxy, turn off my intercept, go back to my Chromium browser, and let's see, let it load. So we have that username. I'm going to use JJJJ, and login password, just randomly put something there. What am I doing? I'm supposed to intercept that. Okay. Alright, I'm supposed to intercept that, so I'm going to redo that. I'm going to type in this, I'm going to type in the password, blah 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 blah, and go back to my proxy, turn on my intercepts on, go back to my Chromium browser and hit login. So right now we have that captured. So with this I can just Control R and send that to my repeater. Over here we have that on repeater now. So great. Now on that repeater, once we've sent it to the repeater, of course, and yeah, we're gonna send the request, then right click on the response and send, and choose to send to compare. So first we're going to, there's no response here, right? So we're going to send. Once we've sent, we've gotten a response, so I'm going to right click this and I'm going to send it to compare. Okay, I've done that. If you come back to compare, you're going to, oh my god, I need to clear all this. Clear, everything is cleared, right? So I'll go back to my repeater. I'm going to send this to comparer. Come back to my comparer. Okay, I have this right here. So I think we're going to repeat that. So we have that right here. Okay. Now in the repeaters tab, we're going to change the credentials to username equals to support.admin. Control C. Go back to my repeater. I'm going to go back to request. I'm going to change this username to support_admin, and I'm going to copy the password and I'm going to put that here, paste. Right, so I have the support username changed to this and password changed to this. So I'm going to send this and it's going to give me a response, which is this, and I'm going to right click this and I'm going to send this response again to the comparer. Sent to comparer. Now let's go back to comparer. We have these two here and I'm going to just compare by words, and voila. We can see the two differences, right? It's been allocated. So one was sent at 665.45. We see this is 656.42, and as you can see, the location here is support equals to login. Okay, that maintained. Change the content length. You can see the section cookies differs. Of course, the section cookies differ. And one thing else is that I think the both of them are 302 found, 302 readjustment. So we can notice the differences here. That being said, compare the two responses by word. Can you identify the main differences? Yes, we did identify the main differences. We were able to see their difference in section cookies, a difference in time, and the content length also differs. Okay, that being said, I'm going to close this and we're going to hit complete for this, and we're done. Let's head on to task 7. Okay, task 7 is sequencer overview, so we're heading straight to sequencer. Now, sequencer allows us to evaluate the entropy or randomness of tokens. Tokens are strings used to identify something that should ideally be generated in a cryptographic secure manner. And these tokens could be session cookies or cross-site request forgery tokens used to protect from form submissions. If these tokens aren't generated securely, then in theory we could predict upcoming token values. Now the implications could be substantial. For instance, if the token in question is used for password resets. Now let's start by looking at the sequencer interface, just like we see here. Okay, now basically we have two main ways to perform token analysis with sequencer. We have the live capture, so we have live capture right here, and we also have the second one, which is manual load. So over here on the live capture, this is the more common method, and it is the default subtype for sequencer. Live capture lets us pass a request that will generate a token to sequencer for analysis. For instance, we might want to pass a post request to a login endpoint to a sequencer, knowing that the server will respond with a cookie. Now, with the request passed in, we can instruct sequencer to start a live capture. It will then automatically make the same request thousands of times, storing the generated token samples for analysis. After collecting enough samples, we stop the sequencer and allow it to analyze the captured tokens. Now for the manual load, this allows us to load a list of pre-generated token samples already, directly into the sequencer for analysis. Now, using manual load means we don't need to make thousands of requests to our targets, which can be noisy and resource intensive. However, it does require that we have a large list of pre-generated tokens. Now, we will be focusing on live captures in this room. What does sequencer allows us to evaluate? I think that should be entropy. I don't know if I'm correct with that. Entropy? And that's correct. Okay, entropy. Alright, my streak is on. Okay, now heading to task 8. Task 8. Sequencer live capture. So it looks like we're going to do some practicals right now. So great, let's dive into the process of using the sequencer's live capture for entropy analysis on the anti-brute force token used in the admin log form. Now first, let's capture a request to this particular URL, which is admin the login. Okay, copy in the proxy, right click on the request and send that to sequencer. Okay, first let's go to my proxy here and forward everything. My intercept is still on. With our intercept on, I'm going to redo that. I'm just going to just refresh this page. So we have the quickie session. This looks right now, so I'm going to send this to the sequencer and we'll head straight to a sequencer. Voila, we can see this particular it's on our live capture, and we have this. And then what we notice here right now is that in the token location within the response, which is what we see here section, we can select between cookie, form field, and custom location. Cookie, form field, and custom location. And since we're testing the login token in this case, we're going to select the form field radio button and choose the login token from the drop down menu. So I'm going to click on form field right here, and we're going to select login token. Voila. So this is exactly what I was passing through. At first I was like, password, username, what's this? So we're looking at login token, so that's exactly what we need to select right there. After that, now in this situation, we can safely leave all other options at their default values. So we click on the start live capture to start our live capture. So it's going to start capturing. What we notice here is the request 25 and so on, live capture 35. It's taking more time. We're going to shift this a little bit. Okay, while it's doing that, we're going to notice that a new window popped up indicating that a live capture is in progress and displaying the number of tokens captured so far. We're going to wait until a sufficient number of tokens are captured. Approximately 10,000 should suffice. As you can see, it's still under 175. This might take enough time, a longer time. And the more tokens we have, the more precise our analysis will be. Once around 10,000 tokens are captured, click on pause, and then we can select an analyze now button, which is we can hit pause. Once you hit pause, we can now click on analyze now. It should pop up analyze now right here. Okay, basically let's continue while it's doing that. It is important to note that we could have also chosen to stop the capture, however, by opting to pause. We know we can keep the option to resume the capture later if the report doesn't have enough samples to accurately calculate the token entropy. So that's the difference between stop and pause. If you stop, we will not be able to use or continue again from where it stops. Then pause, we can reanalyze and continue. I can pause this after 1000 and see, but it is recommended to get more, at least 10,000. Okay. Now, if we wished for periodic updates on the analysis, we could have this selected the auto analyze button checkbox. So we have the auto analyze next, it's at 700 and so on and so forth. That particular checkbox, this option tells us to perform the entropy analysis after every 2000 requests, providing frequent updates that will become increasingly accurate as more samples are loaded into sequencer. Now at this point, it is also worth noting that we could choose to copy or save the capture tokens for further analysis at later time. Upon clicking the analyze now button, Bob will analyze the token's entropy and generate a report. What is the overall quality of randomness estimated to be? Okay, alright, honestly I don't know why it is absolutely so slow Previously when I did it, I think it was faster than this, but I'm going to pause right now and I'm going to analyze now. So let's see what we see. So basically, we can see how the results come out, the effective entropy and so on and so forth. We're going to see that in the next task, but basically this is how you get it to analyze what it has captured so far. Now, what is the overall quality of randomness estimated to be? The overall result, the overall quality of randomness within the sample is estimated to be excellent. Okay, is estimated to be excellent. Right here we see that here, excellent. So let's type in that and see if that's the answer. Hit enter, and voila. While I'm just going to continue, I'm just going to press resume. I don't know if it will be important for the next task, but let's just continue. Task 9, which is the sequencer analysis. I think I'm going to put that backward. Now that we have a report for the entropy analysis of our token, it's time to analyze it. The generated entropy analysis report is split into 4 primary sections. The first of these is the summary. I'm going to put that back up and hit back to our live capture instance. What? Here. Okay, here we go. So we have this as summary, we have the character level analysis, we have the bi-level analysis, and then we have the analysis settings. The first of this is summary of the result. The summary gives us the following. So we have the overall result, entropy, effective entropy, we have the reliability, and then we have samples. Now the overall result, in this case, this gives a broad assessment of the security of the token generation mechanisms. In this case, the level of entropy indicates that the tokens are likely securely generated, because it says excellent. Even though I used the captured tokens we did was just about 1000 plus. Now, effective entropy. Now, this measures the randomness of the tokens. Now, the effective entropy of 117 bits is relatively high, according to the result they had previously, and indicating that the tokens are sufficiently random and therefore secure against prediction or brute force. Reliability, the significant level of 1% implies that there is a 99% confidence in the accuracy of the results. Now, this level of confidence is quite high, providing assurance in the accuracy of the effective entropy estimation. Sample. Now, this provides details about the token samples analyzed during the entropy testing process, including the number of tokens and their characteristics. So we have sample size was 1425 and token length is 32. Now, while the summary report often provides enough information to assess the security of the token generation process, it is important to remember that further investigations may be necessary in some cases. The character level and the bit level analysis can provide more detailed insight into the randomness of the tokens, especially when the summary results raise potential concerns. Here we don't have anything yet, but on the bit level, you can use that as well. Yeah, there's a lot here where we can need to study, but I just know that they exist. Okay. Now, while the entropy report can provide a strong indicator of the security of the token generation mechanism, there needs to be more definitive proof. Other factors could also impact the security of the tokens, and the nature of probability and statistics means there's always a degree of uncertainty. Now, that said, an effective entropy of 117, in our case 120 bits, will be a significant level of 1%, suggests a robust, secure token generation process. Alright, click me to proceed to the next task. We've done that, and let's head on to task 10. We have the organizer overview, so I'm going to close this right now. That done, let's go into organizer. Alright, now the organizer module of Burp Suite is designed to help you store and annotate copies of HTTP requests that you may want to revisit later. This tool can be particularly useful for organizing your penetration testing workflow. Here are some of the its key features. Now, here you can store requests that you want to investigate later, save requests that you've already identified as interesting, or save requests that you want to add to a report later. Okay. This is under the organizer, sorry. So basically Burp organizer. Some other features, so you can send HTTP requests to Burp Organizer from the Burp modules such as proxy or repeater. You can do this by right clicking the request and send to Organizer, or you can use the default hotkey Control O. Each HTTP request that you send to the Organizer is a read-only copy of the original request saved at the point you sent it to the Organizer. So under the proxy here, let's see if we can send a Control O. You just send to Organizer. We'll come back to the Organizer. Here we have that's read-only here. Click on this, you can see more information about what happened there. Okay, now basically the requests are stored in a table. If you keep sending here, you see 1, 2, 3 and so on 4. Now requests are stored in a table which contains columns such as the request index number, the time that the request was made, basically time, status, method, host and so on and so forth. So if you click here, you can still see more requests, more options here on the table. Now workflow status, Burp to that the request was sent from. Now the HTTP method, server host name, URL file path, URL query string, number of parameters in the request, HTTP method, HTTP status code of the response, length of the response in bytes, and any notes that you have made. You will see them all here in this particular order. Now to view the request and response, you can see them here. The request, this was the response if there was one. So now we can click on any Organizer item. The request and response are both read only. You can search within the request or response, and then select the request and then use the search bar below the request. So under the request there's a search bar here if you want to search something here. So we can search for application and to just show you that. Basically, if you have a note here, you would have seen the note here as well. So saved requests read only, yeah or nay. Basically they are read only, so nothing much can be done with it. So that basically is the basic usage of the Organizer. And let's head on to the last task here, task 11. Congratulations on completing the Burp Suite Other Models room. To summarize, Decoder allows you to encode and decode data, making it easier to read and understand the information being transferred. Comparer enables you to spot differences between two data sets, which can be pivotal in identifying vulnerabilities or anomalies. Sequencer helps in performing entropy analysis on tokens, providing insights into the randomness of their generation and consequently their security level. Organizer enables you to store and annotate copies of HTTP requests that you may want to revisit later. Now, having a fundamental understanding of these tools equips you with a broader skill set when it comes to web application penetration testing. And in the next and final room of this module, you will be exploring Burp Suite extension tools. And I understand how to use Organizer, Decoder, Sequencer, and Comparer. Yeah, I do. Congratulations. Now, thank you for studying with me. Thank you for learning with me. I'll see you guys in the last room for Burp Suite, and enjoy the rest of your day. Ciao.